All right, so then I guess there'll be like a little like jingle or something. I'll have to go through audition, see what happens. So, all right. Welcome, everybody. This is the first episode of a podcast idea that I came up with not too long ago called Cosplay Bytes. And basically, it's just going to be cosplay centered, like talking about conventions, highlighting specific cosplay, maybe getting some guests in from time to time and have them like share how to do a certain technique and stuff like that. So for this first episode, I have with me one of my best friends to help me out with this, Mink the Satyr, since she's done several podcasts before, and I figured why not get someone who is used to this stuff. So yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
All right. So I titled this episode Katsucon 2018 because I imagine that's going to be the bulk of what this podcast episode is going to be about. And I don't know how long it'll be, so it's just a little trial and error as I start getting used to this whole podcast being an offshoot of my blog, which is into my Patreon and all that stuff. So, Mink, we were both at Katsucon this year.
Yes, at the time of recording, this has been about a week ago was when we all went our separate ways.
Yep. I showed up early Thursday afternoon, 6:50 train ride down to Virginia. I met some friends who picked me up from the train station, and they brought me over to the Wyndham Resort, which is like right around the corner from where the Gaylord was. And yeah, I stayed there for about pretty much till the following Monday, when I went home early that morning as well.
When I first started going to Katsucon, it wasn't always the fashion to get your hotel for the following day, but more and more people are starting to get their hotels from Thursday night through to Monday so that they could make their travel plans a little bit more agreeable. There's always this mad dash at the end of a convention once it's over to leave. And I mean, I know I've got parking garage horror stories where I'm sitting in gridlock in the same parking garage for like 2 hours trying to just get out of the Gaylord Hotel garage. That was a tough year. But to sort of combat that, I know quite a number of people, particularly cosplayers, who've been seeing if they can extend their stay. Katsucon is usually the weekend before President's Day. So as long as you have President's Day off that following Monday, you get a little bit of flexibility.
Yeah, I remember going on the way home. Two of my roommates, I guess they stayed later on Monday and didn't go back Monday, either afternoon or Monday night, because I think they're both from Indiana or something like that. So they had a flight that day, but I saw them. They were still at the gazebo, like shooting in that area. So I think more and more people may try to do that. And I even saw a friend post saying that it's not like Katsucon is now getting more crowded, and they either have to change up their outfits to debut on which days, because like I saw people like Danielle Ballou, she didn't wear cosplay at all. She barely went down to the convention because she was going to debut her new outfit on a Saturday, and it was just like bumping into people, armor falling off. Didn't seem like it was worth it.
I think Katsucon has one of those cosplay-friendly reputations that, because it's set in such a beautiful hotel in National Harbor, it's got a lot of buzz around it in the cosplay world. A lot of people have heard of Katsucon and MagFest, which takes place in the same hotel a couple weeks earlier. And that gazebo has achieved legendary status. This is the convention where everyone brings their A game. So I can see why it's getting crowded. Of course, there's that like unspoken secret that unless you are partaking of the convention panels or going to the dealer's hall or the artist's alley, there's a high amount of lobby conning, which is that phenomenon where you go to a public space and don't necessarily buy a ticket to go to an event that's being held within that private space.
That's what I did.
Yeah, I think that's what unfortunately contributes to that overcrowding is when you have a significant number of people who are lobby conning, whether they can't afford the Katsucon weekend pass fee or they just choose not to. It does mean that there are more people than is anticipated on the show floors. So it can make it a little challenging when you're in larger costumes to navigate and move around. And this being Katsucon, the famous cosplay convention, I think there are a lot of large costumes. So even individuals are taking up a bigger footprint than typical.
Yeah. So both of us cosplayed that weekend. You did 2 outfits?
Yeah, I can only go to Katsu on Saturday and Sunday, so I just had 2 outfits.
All right. What were they?
On Saturday, I was Pokemon themed. There's a Pokemon from the newest game, Sun and Moon, called Mimikyu, which is a delightful, like, patron saint of cosplay because it dresses up to look like Pikachu and doesn't do the best job of it, which is part of why I love this character so very much. So I did a like J-pop gothic Lolita version of the character. And that was very, very fun. I got to cosplay it with a couple of my friends. We did Pokemon fairy types as part of a band.
Right. Yeah, that was fun to tag along with you when you did the mini little music video shoot.
Yeah, that was great. Part of going to Katsucon, of course, is because it's so beautiful. A lot of folks like to do videos or photo shoot sessions, and so I managed to get the band together to do a video session, and the focus was that we were working on making a music video, which was pretty sweet to be a part of. It's just a little on the cold side when we were filming it. It was also a little on the rainy side when we were filming it. So those of us who had more skin showing had to like go inside and wait behind the doors until it was their turn to get filmed, then come out, be filmed, and then go back inside again. It was a little rough, but I think the end results are going to be absolutely worth it. Yeah.
And then I tagged along with you on Sunday morning because you got some of your morning shoots in your Aloy outfit.
Yes, that's from the PlayStation 4 exclusive game Horizon Zero Dawn. That one, I've worn that costume a couple of times before, and I'm sure I'll wear it a few more times again.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite outfits you've ever done. It just looks so comfy, and like the wig and all the material that you use to kind of, I guess, like heighten the accuracy of like the stuff that would have been available at the time, like in that game's like setting and time period. It was just, I love it so much.
Well, thank you for noticing. That was a major stress point for the costume construction. Was I wanted to make sure that for that particular character, anything that would have been made out of natural material was then made out of natural material. I didn't want to half step it or use something other than the material the game designers were clearly programming it to be. It was a really fun project. It took a lot out of me, so it's great to see that that other people get as much enjoyment out of it as I do.
Yeah. And then I myself cosplayed once again as Prompto Argentum from Final Fantasy 15. It was his casual skin without the jacket, because I felt like out of like Final Fantasy, it's just notorious that and Kingdom Hearts for having like batshit crazy designs, and I just saw his outfit without the jacket. I was like, I could pull that off. And so I did. And I got some wonderful shoots from DT Jam over on Twitter. He was phenomenal with helping me pose, and it was on that Saturday when you debuted your Mimikyu, and it was snowing.
Yeah, that was a very strange weather pattern day, because the day started out quite sunny and a little on the warmer side, and then the clouds rolled in, and then we got snow, and then the temperature heated up a little bit, and then we got just sort of this rainy, dull drizzle, and then by the end of the night, it was somewhat clear skies, so that the following day was just clear, beautiful skies. Yeah, very, very strange weather.
Muscle t-shirt in the snow. Yeah, it was cold.
It was one of those ironic moments, because when I was doing my shoots as Mimikyu, I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, oh, but Aloy would have looked so much cooler in this snow weather. Oh, and then vice versa is true for on Sunday when it's beautiful weather. It's like, oh, as great as it is wearing Aloy, Mimikyu would have been perfect. But that's the weather for you. You can never really predict it. But the good news is that everything came out great regardless. So I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it.
What else can we talk about the con? Well,
you were telling me you had an unexpected moment in an elevator.
I was gonna say that. I did forget. When do I say it? So, I was in Prompto on that Saturday, walking up the escalator, and this guy pops in front of me. He smiles and gives me a nod, and he's out in front of me, like I'm sitting behind him on the escalator going up, and I'm thinking to myself, he looks familiar, like the hair and the face, and he had all this camera equipment and whatnot. And so I never really got a chance to say hi to him or thank him for what he did, because he was, at the end of it, he would like sit in front of the concierge area. But it was just bugging me, like, I know who he is. I just can't put my finger on it. And I looked through who I was following on Twitter, looked through his pictures, and yep, it was Robbie Damon, the voice actor for Prompto and Akechi and all other characters from recent hits.
Wait, you did Goro Akechi?
Robbie Damon? Yeah. That shocked me as well.
That's a character from Persona 5, those who are unfamiliar with who the character Goro Akechi is. That's delightful. I really liked his voice work in Persona. I don't think I would have known that was the same voice actor, but now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, I am on board.
Yeah. So now I'm kicking. I was kicking myself for not saying hi or getting a Polaroid snapshot with them.
Right, but at the same time, it's probably better that you didn't, because the elevator is probably not the venue to do so. He did have signings and things that were like the designated times to do as such.
He smiled and nodded, so I was like, "Yeah, he noticed me."
Senpai noticed me.
That was the other thing.
You know what? That sounds like it was a perfect enough story. It had beginning, middle, and end. Everything you could ask for.
Yeah. That was the other thing. Prompto as a character, his main weapon is a gun. I didn't have the time or the patience to make his gun, but the other thing is he's into photography. Like all the main bros have like a side hobby that they do, and Prompto, they're taking pictures. And after every time you save in the game, like a little like sizzle reel of photo that he randomly took when you were fighting and walking around, and you get to choose, like keep to a photo album or you share it online. So to make up for that, I brought along my Polaroid camera, and it worked really well. So that was my fun story. Do you have any fun stories from Katsucon?
Oh, I've got like dozens of fun stories. I had a great moment that just gave me life, and that's like what I live for, is when you work really hard on a costume and then someone notices the thing that you did that you didn't think other people were going to notice. So lot of preamble for what is essentially, when I was debuting Mimikyu, one of the things I had with me was a very large bass guitar prop. And it wasn't a real bass because it needed to be sort of this very bizarre shape. And the shape wound up being based on Mimikyu's tail, which looks like a derpy version of Pikachu's tail, if you're unfamiliar with the character. And I worked very hard to make sure that I had that silhouette going, so that if I were to pick the bass guitar up by the neck and hold it upside down, it would just look like Mimikyu's tail. And I didn't integrate the tail design into anything else that I did because I was thinking, that's it. That's my tail. We're good here. And I was at a Pokemon photo shoot that Saturday. And we had a lot of silly moments, and, I was meeting a lot of cool people, trying desperately to hear what was happening over the sound of there being so many folks all at once in a large open area that's basically an echo chamber. So when it's time for the ghost type Pokemon to come up and get their photos taken, there were quite a few Mimikyus. I'm sitting there with my bass, and at some point I pick up my bass by the neck and I turn it around so that you could just see the back of the bass guitar, which is all brown, the correct color of Mimikyu's tail. And somewhere from the audience, photographers and just people who are onlooking, you just hear someone cut through the crowd like, "Oh my God, the bass is her tail!" And like everyone's, the oohing and ahhing of just that like small moment made me feel so special. It was just like, yes, you figured it out. You picked through my design and it worked. You know now what I was doing. And when it comes to designing non-human characters, because that's ultimately what I was doing, was I wasn't copying like I did with Aloy. I was making costume design of my own. So to see an element that I was sitting there kind of being like, I know what this is and I'm excited about it, but I don't know if everyone's going to figure it out. Seeing everyone figure it out was a very rewarding experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And just people asking for your photo because they liked your outfit so much, that also can be a really put you on like an emotional high, like, yay, someone liked my outfit so much.
Exactly. And it's fun. If you're the kind of person who gets a lot of enjoyment from that attention, which I absolutely am that kind of person, you would be surprised how much you could sort of deal with, like if your costume is itchy or hurting, or if your feet are hurting from being on heels all day or stuff like that. You don't notice it. You just get into that con high of excitable people being excited about you and everyone else. And it's so easy to lose yourself into it. I think that's why I enjoy conventions so very much.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Were there any like standout cosplays that you saw in passing while you were at the con? There's always standout cosplay that I see passing in the con. I think this year I feel like J Hart Design had a very beautiful Marie Antoinette let them eat cake moment that I was just living for. I was quite literally off to the side, just sitting there. I think on Sunday he was wearing it and just looked beautiful and elegant, everything I could ever want. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, he looks so pretty. I hate how pretty he looks because it's so good and I can't even handle it. I was just like singing angry songs about like how beautiful and meticulous the work was and how like it was so moving that it just was like, some people, when they see beautiful things, they're moved to tears. I was moved to like angry song making. I don't have any other way of explaining it. Apparently this made quite a number of people around me laugh, and I would not be surprised if J Hart was just like, listening in and just being like, who is this crazy person? What are they doing? I was right next to her when she was doing that. It was pretty funny.
Just angry songwriting. It's one of my many talents. When I move to anger, I am capable of quite a tune. And I feel like I didn't get to see it up close, which is a real shame. But Cowbutt Crunchies had been working on something for quite some time that she debuted on Saturday. And I couldn't tell you what the character was, despite having watched her progress on it for the last few months. Like, no idea. But it looked beautiful. And that's really all that matters. I got to see her Seraphim again on Sunday as well. And that's a costume that I really admire. I got to see it when the two of us competed at the Eastern Championships of Cosplay at New York Comic-Con in 2017. So it was just good to see it again. I think she's probably made some like little minor tweaks, or I just am noticing more details that I didn't notice then. Either way, she looks smashing in it. So I always, look forward to seeing people who are local to me, because she's, the next town over, which is amazing. But I always just look forward to seeing costumes that I'd been keeping my eye on before, or I had seen in person and was really wowed by it. Getting a chance to see it a second time is always a real treat.
Right. And I'm trying to think. I saw like the Armored Evolutions returned. I think they were the same group of people. I think. Yeah,
it was the same crew. 9 folks. I know a couple of them, but I haven't had the pleasure of meeting all of them.
Yeah, League of Larcy pointed me to the Umbreon one, and I'm trying to figure out probably within the next month to show it off of my outfit. Because they did it during at nighttime when like some of the area was dark in the hotel room, and they all were lighting up. I was like, ooh, this is awesome.
It's great. These are evolutions from Pokemon that are sort of inspired by those mecha suits, like Voltron-esque, but not quite. They're a little bit more detailed than that. Right. Each one has LED strips and lights integrated very smartly into the design. So it's delightful to see them in the daytime when you can see a lot of those paint job details. But then at night, or rather like once the sun goes down, that's when I think they really, and pardon the pun, shine, because you really get to see how cleverly the crew has integrated the lights into their cosplay. And I think that's a really important element.
Right. Yeah. One of my roommates, he does a fantastic Nyx from Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15, the movie, and it was awesome getting to see pics of it online. Like, he added in like all the scars and burnt makeup that you see the character wearing towards the end of the movie. Trying to think. One of my friends, Intraventist, she put together a group of other ladies that I know to be a part of this, I guess something called Monster Girl Encyclopedia. Maybe
I'm unfamiliar with the series, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know where it is or where it came from, but she had her and a couple of other friends dressed up as basically like monster kawaii cute girls. And then on Saturday she was in her kawaii Death Knight from World of Warcraft.
Fabulous.
Basically, it was just like a Death Knight, but like in full blown pink unicorns, white sparkles. She had a full on like death axe. It was something else.
I do love when folks do that sort of like kawaii take on particularly evil or sinister looking characters. I think it's really funny. It still tickles me pink.
Yeah. Any other stuff about Katsu we wanted to talk about, or you think we hit pretty much everything on the head with it?
I mean, the summary point of Katsu is it is very crowded. It's gorgeous costume work, and it's a beautiful location. It's one of the few conventions where I'm still consistently looking to like book photo shoots while I'm at the convention. I'm far more likely to do photo shoots now offsite or on our own time as opposed to at the convention time, just because I want to do anything at the conventions. I want to be a part of the culture. I want to meet my friends. I want to do the panels. I want to buy a bunch of stuff I shouldn't be buying, all of that things.
All the plushies.
All of the plushies. But at Katsucon, I still really work hard to make sure that I catch everything, that I get my photos taken, and work with some of my favorite photographers that I might not necessarily see if I'm local.
Right.
It's just such a great opportunity, and the quality of the photos comes out as good, if not better, than when I do shoots offsite. It really, like I said, just a beautiful, beautiful center. Lots of different options for photographers. So it's got really something for every kind of cosplay, which I appreciate.
Right. Were those all the photo shoots you booked? Were they like? How would you like describe it, like price wise? Because I mean, I've been hoping maybe one day if I get like enough funds to just like go all out and booking several photo shoots for my own outfits, because it's usually just that one guy that I see at every convention that I mentioned when he took shots of my prop. Though he's pretty much the only one who gives me like my time to shine in like posing and whatnot. But like,
right. Well, I guess it sort of depends on who you're working with. It definitely depends on your relationship with that person. So I know many of the people that I work with somewhat regularly, I've either met and shot with like haul shots, which is I think what you're describing when you speak of your photographer friend, is that it's somebody that you met while you were walking around the convention, who asked, "Can I get your picture?" And then was like, "Actually, can we go over here to take that picture?" So that would be considered a haul shot, is any sort of photos that were taken like in the convention hall.
right.
Photo shoots that are not necessarily considered haul shots are ones that you wouldn't necessarily take physically in the convention space unless it made sense to the character. So a lot of times those would be like a photographer and you might go nearby the convention, but you're not physically within the convention space anymore.
Right.
Maybe you're going behind the convention center or to a local park in walking distance from the convention center. It's something that you usually schedule.
Right.
Most of the time I've been scheduling my photo shoots before the convention happens, because the photographers that I like to work with, I know book up really quickly and they have very busy schedules at the conventions. They're there to work. Having fun is entirely secondary.
Right.
But there are some photographers that I have met by doing haul shots, and then we synergize really well, or we're both really excited about each other's work, and we'll say like, "Hey, are you going to be around later? Maybe we could schedule something and do like a more proper shoot." So I've had that happen as well. A lot of the shoots, and I know you kind of brought this up earlier, the idea of paid shoots. Haul shots, very seldomly I've ever seen someone be like, "I'm going to take your picture. That's going to be X amount of dollars." Usually when someone takes your picture for a haul shot, it is a free service that they are doing. But as a result, you're not going to necessarily see people, you're not necessarily going to see photographers editing their haul shots very much. You'll see, some photographers definitely do, but for the most part, the shots that they take are like, "All right, I'll maybe do a little bit of tweaking and then I will present this." They're not going to put so much effort into it because it costs them $0 to shoot the picture, and they're not getting any money by editing it. So it's more just like I took a picture of something I thought was neat. Here we go. But for paid shoots, photographers will do editing for it. Many photographers at Katsucon will bring a lot of lighting equipment or even assistants to come with them to help aid with those shoots. So you're going to get more of the production value from what you are doing. And then the prices for your shoot really do depend on the photographer and how they are working in the moment. So there are some shoots that I scheduled that were free shoots. because that photographer doesn't want to charge, or because, I have a personal relationship with the photographer where we kind of work something out. But that's far less typical for like a photo shoot session. A lot of times, photographers will ask for money for their time. Some photographers will set up for a 1 hour shoot. Some photographers are for a 30-minute shoot, but generally speaking, it's in that time frame that you'll be signing up for.
Okay. All right, I'll definitely have to try and look into it one of these years, because Katsu is definitely one con that I see myself going back to like yearly if I can afford it and whatnot.
Right. That's always the if, oh man, can I afford Katsucon?
Yeah.
It's important because you live in Rhode Island. So going to Maryland is not as easy as if you were going to like Boston.
Right. Yeah. Round trip train rides, they're not that crazy expensive. Like, I think it's like the price I paid was like, okay, yeah, I could see that. Like, that's just about enough of what I paid for. So,
right. But you got to balance, because if you can take a round trip train ride, that means you can't bring elaborate costumery with you.
Yes. I remember the first time I went last year, I couldn't bring Riku's Keyblade made out of wood. So I had to like sit that one out and just bring his vest and wig. And then I think it was just Riku and Prompto I brought that year. I didn't bring Nightwing. Okay.
So that becomes the difficult part, whether you're taking a train, a bus, you're flying, or you're driving. If you are not local to the convention space, it can be quite a hassle to get your elaborate materials to that location. And this is true of places like Katsucon, conventions like Dragon Con. These are two very big costume conventions that tend to draw a lot of participants from all across the country. And it's not like in Dragon Con's case, across the world as well.
Oh, yeah. One of my roommate's friends who met for the first time, because they developed like an online friendship, she was based in Germany and she came out all the way for this con.
Yes, Dragon Con is very big. As if you think that Katsucon is large, Dragon Con could eat Katsucon and be like, I'll have seconds. I refer to it as the Mardi Gras of cosplay. It's just enormous. And because it takes place in downtown Atlanta, Georgia, there's so much like urban walking distance resources that you can go to. It takes place across multiple hotels. And then, of course, people stay in multiple hotels. And at Dragon Con, there's this very large parade where they close like a mile block of downtown Atlanta just to have cosplayers parade.
Oh, boy.
And like there's an application process to be a part of the parade. Like you don't just get to be in the parade.
Oh, my God.
It's a big deal. And there are folks who have workshops or production companies or whatnot that just work on creating what they're going to create for Dragon Con. It's just that big. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It can be a little overwhelming. If you are overwhelmed by Katsu, which can be overwhelming as well, Dragon Con is all the more loud, big, bold. It's just a treasure. I love that convention just as much as I love Katsu, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, I've never been to Dragon Con. I don't know if I ever will get to experience it. Maybe someday. I don't know. I think that's definitely one of my bucket list cons, as with Katsu. Like,
it's certainly worth the while.
Yeah. Last year at Katsu, I felt overwhelmed, but since I got used to it, this year, not so much. Like, I was rooming with pretty much the same people as last year, and it's just good time partying out Saturday night, and then Sunday, I just happened to see everyone that I wanted to see again. Like they were just all within that confined like gazebo level area. So that was really nice.
It can be difficult going to these conventions that have these bigger reps because it is very overwhelming and overstimulating. And so you need to just temperature acclimate. I think going to Dragon Con made it so that I was more prepared for conventions like New York Comic Con, because those kinds of conventions are, again, it's just if you're trying to move through a crowd, you're going to be real close to a lot of people, and it's going to be a fight to move from A to B, and it's going to take you a while. So if you have a panel to go to, you better start getting ready to go to that panel like with half hour to go, because it's going to take you that long, what with the crowds. And if you're in cosplay, being stopped for photos, which is never a hassle. I'm the kind of person who doesn't like to say no to photos.
Right.
Because I have experienced people saying no to me, and it didn't like crush my soul, but I didn't love the feeling of it. And I understood that, not everyone has the time, or, there could be something going on in that moment that they were like, no, I don't want to take a photo right now. And I'm certainly happy to respect that person's wishes. But I was just like, no, well, I think my goal is going to be that I'll work hard to make sure that I'm available if someone wants a photo of me taken. And if I'm getting to the point where I would not be available for that, whether it's because I'm tired or I'm in pain from my costume or some other third thing, and it's like, all right, well, I need to remove myself from the con floor and give myself what I need to do in order to get myself back to that even keel again. So I've definitely, at conventions like New York Comic Con, where I've become overstimulated and I'm like, okay, my feet hurt, I need to go home. I left the show floor and like taken a break in my hotel room and then come back, because I was like, I know I'm going to be a pain in the butt if I continue. So I'm going to go take a break and then I'll come back and everything will be right as rain again.
Yay. Yeah, going to New York for 5 years now, it's just like I've become a pro at like weaving and bobbing through the crowds. And
they say that if you're in a crowded space and you're trying to move forward, the way you're really supposed to do it is you're supposed to move diagonally. Every time you see an open space, you just diagonally move, and you're just going to be zigzagging across. Yep. But it is the most efficient and time conscious way of getting from A to B.
Right.
And by they, I mean, I totally read a cracked article on it once.
Yeah, Katsucon Hotel, it's just like, just seeing it like in the day and then at night, it just, to me, it just had like this Disney World hotel kind of vibe. Like, oh, I could totally see like a theme park being not that far away. It just,
well, I mean, part of you can totally see a theme park being here is that they do have a giant Ferris wheel,
not that far,
not terribly far away from from the hotel. It's very London in that way. This is Ferris wheel on the Thames. In London, it's very reminiscent of that. And at night, it also lights up and is, all LED'd out. So it's super chic, looks very cool as you drive up to the hotel area and you're on the other side of the water. And you're just like, oh, how charming, how very charming. Also, the MGM Grand is, another like 5-minute drive away from the Gaylord Hotel. So they're not hurting in National Harbor for like glitz, glam, and things to do.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of stuff around the hotel. I mean, like we went out to eat at a Chinese restaurant, which was fabulous.
It was. I made a point to make sure that we ate at the Chinese restaurant because I ate there the year prior. And it was quiet, and it was lovely, and it was
quiet.
The food was delicious. I think it's because it was a little bit pricier. So, like the Chipotle that is nearby, slammed, always crowded. But if you don't mind paying like an extra $10 more for your meal, That place was good.
Yeah, the cute little teapots when we ordered tea.
Yeah, I know. We got green tea because I was like, you know what? I need something calming. Green tea. Green tea sounds just delightful.
Let me see on my little list here. I guess as being the first shot, I guess in the future, maybe future guests can probably share or talk about how to do a certain technique. But on the topic of you with your Mimikyu, franchise designs, like just like you in particular, I think you have done so many Pokemon based cosplays, and it's just like
I dare say it's the thing I'm becoming known for.
Yeah. Yeah, that I guess just what about Pokemon is just like so like open to like pretty much anyone who wants to try and cosplay, like in your own like words and opinion.
Well, this is marvelous that you're asking, because this is coming on the heels of as I prepare for PAX East 2018, which is in Boston. I will actually be doing a panel about cosplaying non-human characters, which is uses the Japanese term gajinka, is the idea that you're cosplaying a non-human character. So you're going to have to kind of create your own design. So this is super relevant to what I've been prepping for exactly that, is for my panel.
I had no idea. This was not planned.
Public about it yet. But I'm actually going to be doing 2 panels at PAX this year. I'll be doing a Cosplay 101 panel with Victoria Miller and Rocket Props, which I'm very excited for. Victoria Miller is particularly known for her full suit Samus cosplay, and Rocket Props is known for doing a lot of really cool stuff with, he's made duct tape models of ships like Serenity from Firefly. He also does really, really pretty cosplay. Like he does a really good Gordon Freeman from Half-Life. But I think the thing that he's the most known for is he's the guy who goes around with the wandering cosplay repair station.
Oh, okay.
That's the thing I think he is the most well known for. He's just a guardian angel to all of us, and I absolutely love him. So I'm very excited that we're going to be doing a Cosplay 101 panel together. And then the following day on Saturday, I'll be doing a Cosplay Kajinka panel, and I'm super, super stoked because this is the thing that I do. I think Pokemon itself, more so than most other genres, is just a wealth, because at the time of recording, there are 803 Pokemon to choose from. So you have so much as far as resources are concerned, because there's, again, 803. If you didn't like one, fine. You have 802 others to choose from. Like, you got choices.
Yeah.
But then because Pokemon has been around for 21 years, the advantage that you have is you also have 21 years worth of lore, of content from the trading card games, of content from the anime, of content from the comic books, of content from the other comic books, because there have at this point been at least 3 different storylines going, like official canonical storylines. So there's a lot of lore to draw from. And then when you think about what Pokemon is designed from, the designers of the Pokemon themselves have been also utilizing different cultural or lore inspirations to make their Pokemon. So classic example, Ninetales, the fox from Gen 1's original 151 Pokemon. Okay, that's based off of the nine-tailed demon fox, the Kitsune, from Japanese folklore. So if you're familiar with that lore and you're familiar with Pokemon, you can kind of fold a lot of those in. And then Pokemon itself has a lot of iconography that goes around, because the trading card game has official symbols for fire types. But then you've got, from Pokemon Sun and Moon, there's now Z crystals, which have this new kind of tribal inspiration to all of the types of Pokemon, which gives you a new kind of icon to play with. So I utilized the Z crystals when I was doing my Mimikyu, because I had some logos and images on my Mimikyu base. And among them were, I had the Z crystal for Mimikyu, because Mimikyu has its own Z crystal. Right. In Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, it gets a Z move, so it gets its own Z crystal. I used that on my base, and I also used the image, the icon for fairy type from the trading card game, because I didn't like the icon for the Z crystal for fairies from Pokemon Sun and Moon. So again, it's just this kind of thing where it's like you have so many options and so many directions that you can go in that I find it incredibly inspiring. To me, it's almost difficult not to. So I know, James, when we were at the convention at Katsucon together, one of the things that kept happening is I would keep having this like moment where I would just like have to grip the sides of the wall and just be like, oh my God, guys, I have this great idea for a costume. And I would do that all of the time because I would either like see something that someone did or someone would make a joke. And I'm like, oh my God, this Pokemon costume, though, this would be everything.
You and your horrible puns. Oh my God.
Listen, for me, when it comes to cosplay, especially cosplay that I design, which Gajinka gives me the opportunity to do. If I can make it funny, it'll make it so much worthwhile, because I'm going to put hundreds of hours into making these costumes, oftentimes hundreds of successive hours. Like, if I can't find the humor in it, then what is the point?
Right.
Like, I can work my tail off to make something elegant and beautiful. And then it's just like, while I'm working, it just becomes so effortful and I just get so mired. Right. But if it's for something hilarious, like my last year's Katsucon, I debuted a wizard form of Magikarp. So I called it my Magic Carp, or some people also called it Mage-a-Carp, which I was also fine with. I was like, no. That one, like every tiny detail, from the smocking on the front of the dress to making each individual scale leather punched on the wizard's hat to like designing the embroidery on the back, like every tiny detail was me sitting there being like, oh my God, but it's going to be so funny when the first person is like, oh, you're a Magic Carp. I get you. Like, so that was what keeps me going. So if it's not punny, I'm doing something just super wrong.
Yeah. There was some, just thinking about it, like a couple years back at Katsucon, there were the Valkyries group.
Oh yeah, that was the year when my EVCon had a Katsu problem.
Yeah. Yes, it was those. One girl did a samurai kimono version of Samurott, which makes sense given the name. I know you and I had a back and forth with Larcy about making like warrior like versions of the 3 legendary dogs.
Yep. Actually, I have quite a number of friends who want to do legendary doggos.
Yeah, there's just so much you can do with it.
It's been very wonderful amassing this sort of reputation around making Pokemon cosplay, because it means that when I have friends who are interested in tumbling down the Pokemon pit with me, that's exactly what happens. It's like, I want to make a Pokemon cosplay, but I don't want to just do it by myself. Mink, are you interested in doing such and such thing? To which the answer is always yes, because hashtag gotta cause them all, which is in fact one of my goals. My personal cosplay goal is I won't stop until I've done some representation of all of Gen 1's 151 Pokemon. And of course, sometimes I get sidetracked, like Mimikyu is not part of the first 151. And if I count hoodies and hoodie dresses, I've actually technically done Mimikyu already. But there are just some Pokemon that, are worth derailing me. I think if I just do one a month, it'll take me something like 15 years. It's fine. It's okay if it takes 15 years. I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
It doesn't help with your it's both stupid and like sighing with your pun that you wanted to try to plan for September.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep that under wraps for now. I'm gonna.
All right.
I don't want to reveal everything, but I will say this: September 2018 is going to see perhaps one of my greatest puns ever told in cosplay form.
Yeah.
But if it's not pun, it's also like I also do a lot of trolling or like meme-ish things. So like last year for Gen Con, I had a crossover of Princess Peach and Pikachu. So we've just been calling it Princess Peachachu, which is just really fun to say. And I would love it because there are people, a lot of folks were like, oh, you must be a steampunk Pikachu. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm whatever you want me to be, baby. But that's usually what happens when you do Gajinka is you have to understand that at some point someone's going to get it wrong and you just got to be cool with it. You'd be like, yeah, sure, why not? That sounds great. That's what I am. Yep. You got it, buddy. But when people recognized that I was mirroring Princess Peach's silhouette, and I just had done some color swapping and, put some ears and a tail on it and put a lot of Pokeballs on there. And like, it's like you're Princess Peach and Pikachu. And I was sitting there, I'm just like, my face is like bright and smiley. Like I've got my fist in the air. Like, you got this. Come on, put it together. And they're like coming up with the portmanteau as if they've done it, they're doing it for the first time. And I've done it for like 100 times. So I'm sitting there like, yeah, you can figure it out. Come on. And I'm watching the gears turn. So they're like, you're Princess Peachachu. And then it's just like, the shoe drops. It's a celebration. Everyone is like, yeah, that's exactly what's happening. And it was amazing. Like that's, this is the stuff that I live for is when that happens, when it's like, it is translated so well that people who don't follow you because of Gen Con, which is in Indianapolis in Indiana, kind of the middle of the United States that I am not from because I'm from Boston. I didn't know a lot of people, and so they didn't know me, and they didn't know that this was something that I was working on. Although, granted, I did it so quickly that I don't even think that people who did follow me on social media knew it was something I was working on until it was already done, which is pretty common, apparently. I'm really sorry, social media. I'm trying to be better. My patrons usually get a heads up. I think my patrons, if they've been paying attention, they can map out what I'm working on until like July. I think I've posted some information. So like if you're paying attention, you know what I'm doing every month until the month of July of 2018. At the time of recording, it's February. I have big plans.
Oh, let me see here.
Apparently I don't want to do things like sleep, sit down, take a breather, have money. Like these are things I just want to avoid at all costs. Why would you want any of those things anyway? I mean, really? Highly overrated.
It's just money. Who needs money?
Money to be used for goods and services.
I didn't keep track of the starting time, so it feels like it's been long enough. I don't know.
Yeah, we've been going for almost an hour.
Oh shit! Really? First episode, working out the kinks. All right.
Well, you guys be talking about something I'm real passionate about. I will monologue like I'm a Bond villain.
No, I appreciate that.
Things I'm passionate about.
Thinking about all these topics, and I'm like, franchise design, Pokemon. Mink was Pokemon.
Pokemon franchises.
Yeah.
Designing things. I can't imagine Mink would want to talk about any of those things. Like, please. Not only can I talk about all these things, I elect to. And now I'm gonna. And darn it, like, if you are at PAX, I believe so far, and this is also subject to change because I haven't technically released official panels. If you are at PAX East 2018, you're listening to this, come to the Arachnid Theater at 10 a.m. on Saturday, because this little Zubat is going to be giving a delightful panel on how to take a non-human character and be like, shabam, now I'm a person and I'm fabulous.
Did you just spoil your cosplay for that Saturday?
Looks like someone was paying attention.
Yeah. All right. So I guess closing remarks on my end. Thank you to everyone who made my Katsucon just full of like love and happiness and all that other blah 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 emotional corny crap. It's definitely a con that I would recommend if you want to see a bunch of cosplayers bust out their A game. I know it's definitely in years past provided me with a lot of features. As far as this podcast goes, I thinking about trying to shoot it for monthly. So
good goals.
If not monthly, I'm thinking possibly maybe the next time we do an episode will be in April. Maybe Mink, if you want to do it again, talk about PAX East. Since I'm not going to be there, just adult responsibilities, kids. Don't grow up.
Oh my God. When did this turn into like a Neverland moment? Also, don't grow up. Man, I feel like that's like story of my life.
So if you're a patron of mine, you'll get to see the old edited version of this thing go up first before I put a link to it everywhere. I'm going to have to work out the kinks and see if I want to add in like little jingles that are in the Audition software. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You can find me on the Lightning Palace blog, which updates weekly, like 2 to 3 times a week. My Patreon that's also connected to it. Mink, you want to give yourself some plugs?
No, absolutely. So I'm on every social media except for Snapchat. I'm really sorry, Snapchat. It's just a young man's game. So you can find me Mink the Satyr. That's Satyr. It is a mythological creature, not just a Jewish sad meal. That's spelled different. So you can find me. I'm most often active on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch, but I do have Tumblr, that new Vero app that about. I'm saying that because this morning Vero was super down, and it's like still kind of down.
I couldn't get on it.
Yeah, I can't plus like things right now. Yeah. I'm hoping for an alternative social media that doesn't have bizarre algorithms that totally downplay your reach, but I'm not going to hold my breath because that kind of stuff comes with dinero, which I don't think you're going to get for people to sign up for something that requires a
yearly subscription. I'm hopeful, but so far I'm liking it. Okay. That's it for this first episode of Cosplay Bytes. Thank you all so much for listening.
Yeah, thanks for coming, tuning in, and as always, positive feedback is not only welcome but encouraged.
Yeah, what she said. All right, until next time, guys. I'll come up with a catchphrase later.
May your days be merry and bright.
Yay! What'd you say?
May your days be merry and bright.
Oh, okay. Merry and bite.
Oh.
It's not Christmas.
How ideas get started.